allow me to ask you a very simple but very crucial question with regard to Assassin's Creed as a franchise. Now, I'm going to ask you this question, and I suggest that you pause the video, think about it, come to your own conclusion. Don't let me influence you in any way. Come to your own conclusion for you as an individual. And then we'll discuss it, and we can have this conversation, this dialogue. The question is very simple. What's so great about Assassin's Creed? What do you like about it? Why are you willing to stick with it even after all of these iterations of the game continuously commit absurd game crimes? They commit horrible atrocities. They lie to you with Unity. They release unfinished heaps of garbage. Why are you willing to stick with it? That's my question. What's so great about Assassin's Creed? So go ahead, pause the video, think about it, come back with your answer. Okay? Okay, I'm assuming you've done that. Now, I asked myself this question earlier this week. A viewer tweeted at me and said, why are you covering the rumored, not even confirmed, but rumored Assassin's Creed codename Empire, which is rumored to take place in ancient Egypt? He said, why are you doing this? What's so great about Assassin's Creed? They've screwed you over so many times in the past. Why are you willing to stick with it? And I thought that was a really good question. And I wasn't even sure. So I asked myself, what is so great about it? And I went down the list. One by one about what could I possibly enjoy and be willing to stick with. I asked myself, well, is it, for instance, the fighting mechanics? Well, no, not really. Most people criticize the fighting mechanics. They say it's too simple, or it's a mix between some sort of platformer and a poorly ported Batman Arkham game, which is fair. It's fair. And so if that's the case, then no, that the fighting mechanics isn't at all a crucial point and isn't the reason why I enjoy the game. For a game like Dark Souls or Bloodborne, you could say that the fighting mechanics could be the reason why so many people stick with that game and enjoy it, because it provides a challenge and the mechanics as a whole are intriguing enough to bring people back. But with Assassin's Creed, that's certainly not it. Certainly not it. People don't talk about the fighting mechanics really positively much at all, much less to the point where they're willing to stick with a series over it. So that's not it. Fighting mechanics are out. Well, is it the narrative? Is it the storylines of these games? I would argue no, not at all. Most people have no idea that Assassin's Creed lore stretches all the way up through the JFK assassination and World War II. They don't know that there's actual records in Assassin's Creed 2 linking the assassins to the death of Adolf Hitler, and the fact that according to Assassin's Creed lore, FDR, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, basically all of the Axis and Allied powers were all Templars, and they started World War II as a means of controlling the populace. Nobody knows that. They're not that into the lore. They're not that into the story. And indeed, people certainly aren't into the Abstergo plot lines. Whenever you reach an Abstergo sequence in Assassin's Creed, in any of the games, people try to skip past it as fast as they can. It's considered the low point. I honestly, in my years of playing Assassin's Creed, have never encountered a single person on this planet who says with a straight face, I enjoy the Abstergo sequences. Not a single person. I have never met them. I don't think they exist. I don't think they even exist within Ubisoft. The reason why you play Assassin's Creed is certainly, I'm not sure why, we'll get to that, but it's certainly not because of the Abstergo sequences and the attempts to explain why you're able to go back in time and do these crazy free-running moves and all this. That's not why. So it's certainly not the overarching narrative. Okay, well, if it's not the overarching narrative, then what is it? We're running out of things that could possibly do it. It's not the narrative. It's not the gameplay mechanics inherently. There's other games where you can free run. Like, is it the free running that sells it? Well, no. There's free running in tons of games. There's open exploration in tons of games. What is it about Assassin's Creed that is unique, that makes people say, this game can do it, Assassin's Creed can do it but no other franchise could pull it off. And it comes down to one thing: the settings, the place where the games take place. I know that's repetitive, but it gets my point across. Specifically, allow me to go into specificity. With Assassin's Creed Black Flag, you play as a pirate. All right. And it's very simple. You can tell when people, again, going back to the Abstergo thing, people are not going through the Abstergo sequences when they say, or you're reading the back of the cover of the game, it says play as a pirate and own the open seas. It's not saying play as a, millennial teenager who's going into a device to go back in time and look at his ancestors. No, it says you play as a pirate because you do. And that's what people find interesting and intriguing and enjoyable. It's the world, the setting, the activities, the ability to go back in time into worlds which, regardless of your affiliation or opinions of Assassin's Creed, you have to admit that Ubisoft time and time again does an amazing job of replicating these cities, these landscapes, what have you. They do a phenomenal job with Assassin's Creed Syndicate, replicating London down to an absurd level of detail. An absurd level of detail. With Assassin's Creed Unity going and fighting through the Bastille with measurements down to the inches is just mind-boggling. And no other studio can really pull this off. Other studios are trying to. They recognize that people have this inherent desire to go back in time. It's human, I suppose. But obviously, we don't have time travel machines, and so the next best thing is to go into a video game. And Assassin's Creed offers up this ability to go back in time, to explore 18th century Paris, which is an amazing feat when you really think about it. To explore early 20th century London is an amazing feat. And it's something that only Ubisoft and their huge assets and teams could do. And like I said, there's other companies, other studios that are trying to do this. There's currently a game studio of, I believe it's 4 people who are working to replicate the Titanic in Unreal Engine 4 down to centimeters worth of detail. The entire ship, they're modeling the entire ship, and they're trying to turn this into a game. They've been working on it for years and years and years. They have a YouTube channel. I'll link it down below. But they've been trying to do this, and they just don't have the manpower that a place like Ubisoft does. And so Ubisoft is seen as the sole company that can provide this time travel experience, which to me is why I love Assassin's Creed. And it's my answer. I love Assassin's Creed, and the reason I stick with it is because it allows me to go back in time, to see places and things that I will never be able to see otherwise. And sure, they're not one-to-one scale. They're not exactly what they would have been. Paris, replicated in Unity, is by no means an exact replica of the city, but it gives you a very, very good idea of what it would have looked like, at least when it's not glitching out. Same with Syndicate. Same with Assassin's Creed 2. Same with Assassin's Creed 3, allowing you to run through early American Boston. It's an incredible, incredible feat. And as the years go by, it only becomes more and more incredible with the detail, the graphical fidelity that's able to be achieved, the more NPCs, the more realistic the NPCs behave. It's just becoming more and more incredible, more and more immersive. And that's why I love Assassin's Creed. Not because of the gameplay, not because of the inherent free running, not because of the story or the narratives, not because of the wit of the protagonists. No. I love Assassin's Creed because it allows me to go back in time. And that might sound cheesy, and frankly, it is. It is very cheesy. But it's honestly my answer to the question, and the only answer that makes any sense whatsoever. Sure, elements work together and feed off of this. Something like free running really adds to the time travel element because it allows you to explore this ancient city or this huge clock tower. And so it's an asset. It's something that improves the experience, but it's not, but in and of itself, what sells it for me. What sells it for me is the ability to go back in time. And I think with Assassin's Creed moving forward, I hope they realize this. I can't imagine they don't. But the crucial thing moving forward for Ubisoft is to recognize that people aren't playing their games for the Abstergo plot lines. There are worrying things, such as the film that came out on December 21st here in the US. The film was atrocious. It was all over the place, and they basically spent the entire movie going over the Abstergo plotline and not the Assassin's Creed go back in time into another world plotline. They completely ignored it, mostly spending only about 20% of the movie in the Animus, which was very, very disappointing. Just like when you play one of the Assassin's Creed games and you're in the Animus or you're not in the Animus and you're running around a futuristic looking company building. It doesn't make any sense and it's disappointing. It seems like you're being gypped, it's not what you paid for. You don't want that. You didn't buy Black Flag to go into a futuristic office building. That's not why you bought the game. That's not what you want. And I think moving forward, their crucial job, the big thing that they have to pull off, is either just scrapping the Abstergo plotline or doing something like Black Flag, minimizing it so much that you barely even notice it. It's a small 5-minute sequence in the beginning of the game just to get you into the Animus, and that's it. And then it's not talked about for the rest of the game. That's what I think you honestly have to do to really, really give players what they want. You think about it, Assassin's Creed 2 and Black Flag, two of the favorite games of fans of the series ever. The top two games, they were not heavy on the Abstergo plot lines. They didn't try to explain themselves too much. They just let you go back in time and play as these characters. And so I think if they embrace the sort of role-playing element of Assassin's Creed that many people find themselves sliding into, not in terms of stat building and all that, but rather putting yourself in the role of this character in this world, if they really embrace that, I think they will blow everyone away. And Assassin's Creed, codename Empire, will have the chance to redefine a genre and possibly gaming itself, allowing players to go back in time with a degree of precision and realism and immersion never before achieved. Hey, did you like that? Well, that was just an extra of the full show that I do every weekend. If you haven't seen it already, make sure you check out wherever the card is popping up and subscribe. Goes up every weekend. It's like an hour long, ad-free. No reason not to. We have a great time. Won't be disappointed. Probably.